You're listening to the Sex Addicts Recovery Podcast, a place for sex addicts to share their experiences of recovery, to help break the stigma, myths, and misconceptions of sex addiction. This podcast may contain topics of sexuality, sexual trauma, dysfunction, or other things that may be triggering, so listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to the Sex Addicts Recovery Podcast. My name is Jason, I'm a sex addict, and I will be your podcast host for today. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 60 of the Sex Addicts Recovery Podcast. It's been a few weeks since I've been able to record a new episode. I actually caught a cold a few weeks ago, and I am now just recovering, and thankfully it was not COVID. But between that and work, I have just not had the time to schedule new recordings for the podcast. There are a few things that have happened over the past few weeks that I've wanted to talk about, but I could not really find a way to create a short episode until I found a few readings. Recently, I've been talking to a few newcomers at meetings who have been struggling with the concept of a non-religious higher power. And I hope this episode will shed some light on my journey as a science-driven agnostic to finding a path of spirituality. The first collection of readings is from the new SAA pamphlet called What If I Don't Believe in God? And this is the introduction. Some of us felt surprised or dismayed when we came to our first Sex Addicts Anonymous meeting. Desperate to find relief, only to find ourselves recoiling from literature and discussions referring to God and spirituality. We feared SAA was a religious organization, and since we didn't believe in any deity, we questioned if the program would be a good fit for us. Nevertheless, as we kept coming back, we found ways to understand and successfully apply the principles of the 12 steps without adopting religious convictions. The program offers a spiritual solution to our addiction without requiring adherence to any set of beliefs or practices. And that last sentence was a quote from the SAA Green Book, page 21. A little bit later in the pamphlet, there's a section called There Are Higher Powers in the World. The known and unknown forces of nature and the universe are evidence of powers greater than us. Who can argue with the power of the sea, the sun, an earthquake, a hurricane, or a tornado? Many in the program became unexpectedly aware of and humbled by the realization that our sex addiction is a power greater than ourselves. These observations open the door to understanding and accepting that higher powers do exist and have influence on us, and they don't have to be a deity or have anything to do with religion. And there's another section that is called Other Higher Powers Besides a Deity, and I just wanted to highlight one of the sentences in that section. We discovered we can progress through each of the 12 steps of the program without adhering to a specific set of beliefs, and that has been very, very true for me. The second reading that I found was a reading from Answers in the Heart, and this is from December 9th. Touch the earth, love the earth, honor the earth, her plains, her valleys, her hills, and her seas. Rest your spirit in her solitary places. Henry Beston. Many of us take life for granted and don't bother to look around and praise the world for its radiance. Especially if we are addicts, we tend to dwell in ourselves and forget that we are a part of the world full of mystery and living beauty. Sex addiction, in particular, cuts us off from contact with the living world. We strive for and crave pleasure that satisfies only ourselves. That pleasure becomes more and more empty of meaning as we repeat it compulsively. We don't really know what we're looking for, but we know what we find, darkness and despair. Let's move toward the light of the living world. Whether we go to nature for study or relaxation or adventure or solitude, we can always enhance our world and the world around us through that contact. We come to feel part of something more enduring and more stimulating than our deluded selves. and our lives continue to grow and expand. In the meditation at the end, I'm learning to look outward, to revel in the simple beauties of the world around me. Beautiful reading. And that really focuses me on what I wanted to talk about in this episode. Nature as a higher power. And some new music too. Back in episode 9, I used a quote from an article that I found on different higher powers. I believe in the episode I mistakenly said Doug Randolph instead of his actual name, which is Doug Rudolph. And I'll be providing a link to this article and to the pamphlet on What If I Don't Believe in God in the show notes of this episode. Anyway, in that episode, I read what Doug had to write about music as a higher power. And in this episode, I wanted to read his quote about nature as a higher power. And again, this is my own personal experience with finding spirituality in the program of SAA. And it starts, "In all of nature's beauty, yet unforgiving wrath, what an awe-inspiring force it is. From watching the sun set to lying on a moonlit beach, connecting with Mother Nature can liberate the soul. For many, nature is God. It's the grand architect, the all-powerful creator and provider of life. Some people favor empirical study and discovery as a way of relating to nature, while others will choose a more mystical path, preferring direct experience through action, art, meditation, and other methods. For nature followers, the circle of life is an essential cornerstone of a beautiful, transformative process, which is not to be taken for granted. Just as a tree grows or a flower blooms, to them, human life is meant to flourish, to evolve, thrive, and be explored and experienced to the fullest in all its forms. In other words, nature is hope. As a higher power, the transcendental mind of Mother Nature serves as the ultimate source of guidance and inspiration, and nature's will commands the betterment of the earth and all the life that lives here. Nature is love, and the very soil of our existence, which lays fertile ground for salvation when awakened to its spirit." I love the words that he had to say there. When I speak at meetings, I will often describe my connection with nature, whether I'm out on a hike or near a body of water, if it's a river, a lake, a stream, the ocean, that I feel a sense of peace, especially in a wooded forest area around old rocks. I feel a sense of awe and wonder, especially at a place like Yosemite National Park here in Northern California. Being able to see El Capitan, the granite monolith there, any of the number of waterfalls, Yosemite, Bridal Veil, Nevada Falls, Half Dome. There's so many just spectacular works of nature there that are completely awe-inspiring. And when I'm there, not only do I feel a sense of peace, but I feel a connection with the earth. Recently, I have really been longing for that connection with nature. I've managed to go out on a few hikes here and there in the mountains nearby and do some nature photography. It's wonderful, wonderful outer circle activities. But for my birthday and Father's Day a few weeks ago, I celebrated with my family at a heritage park in Northern California that had bedrock mortars and petroglyphs left by the native people who occupied the area for thousands of years. Reading the description of that park really left me in a sense of peace, and my wife asked where I wanted to go out for a picnic, and I said, let's try this place. And it was so beautiful and nurturing for the soul. And this was followed the next day by the summer solstice, in which I watched a live stream at Stonehenge. It was really cool to be connected in peace with people around the world celebrating Lith, watching the sunrise, and a few hours before watching the sunset at Stonehenge. And that brings me to the day after the solstice, when my new favorite band Heilung released a new video for their song called Anawana. And their album's not due out until August, so I was really, really excited that they were releasing something so soon. A few weeks before that, they had released a teaser trailer, and among the runes that were at the end of the video, there were some that looked like numbers that weren't translatable. It looked like it said June 22nd, 2022. And so I knew something was coming up then, but they released the full video for this beautiful, beautiful song called Anawana. And that first day it was released, I must have watched it at least 10 times, and each time brought tears to my eyes. And it's been on constant repeat every day since. So there's no real known translation to the words that are being sung, but it evokes such a And the reason I'm bringing this song up for this episode is the connection between music and nature, history and spirituality. It's just absolutely amazing. In the video, the girl has a healing connection with nature. And there is just so much feminine power and energy in the video that I personally feel the world needing right now. Yeah, I've been reading through all the comments on YouTube from people from Mexico saying, I'm not Norse, but I feel this connection. Someone who was described as a Muslim Indian, that his connection with this music just brought him to tears. Yeah, throughout this song, it's just absolutely amazing. Maria's voice, and I believe this time they also included other singers in the recording process. But yeah, I love the chorus here in the beginning. It's want to read a little bit about where the band got inspiration for this song, and then an interesting anecdote after that. The lyrics for this piece are mainly taken from brackets, golden circular coins or amulets found in Northern Europe that date from the 4th to 7th centuries Common Era. They're often fitted with decorated rim and loop, which indicates that they were meant to be worn and perhaps provide protection, fulfill wishes, or for divination. The brackets feature a very significant iconography influenced by Roman coinage. They were predominantly made from Roman gold, which was given to the North Germanic peoples as peace money. In Anawana, the listener has the chance to delve into a collection of likely encoded spells from the migration period and get in touch with magic from the Dark Ages. The intention of this piece is to playfully reconnect to an incantational language of a period where the North was richer in gold than any other region. Our forefathers presumably enjoyed a time of great prosperity, and it may make us rethink how dark these ages really were. I had been looking for translations for this, and no one really knows, but there's just magic in those words. And coincidentally, my wife, for my birthday, got me a book about runes and rune magic. And while listening to Anawana, I read a few lines from the book, and I wanted to read 2 lines from this book. Once again, this is my personal experience. This is not coming from SAA literature. Talking about rune formulas and magical formulaic words, that section. There are also those sequences that are pronounceable, but that form no known word in the Germanic vocabulary of natural language. These words may indeed be from the language of the gods, a non-natural language received directly from another world. Famous examples of such words are Luatua, Suhuri Susi, Anawana, Salu Salu, Fosalau, and later Sufus. Some may be decoded, some not. So yeah, when I was listening to Anawana and reading this part of the book, and the word Anawana appeared in the text about magical language, I felt it in the moment. That was kind of a higher power moment for me. Reading a bit later in the rune book, it also had translations of the Old English rune poem, which the lyrics from Heilung's Filia Iryar Futhark come from, and I played that song on episode 30 of the podcast. And the Icelandic rune poem, which Norupo comes from, that I played in episode number 25. Although they changed Icelandic to Norse, so Norse rune poem, No Ru Po. So that's where the name of that song comes from, Norse rune poem. So anyway, I've been completely geeking out on this over the past few weeks, and I wanted to share this on the podcast. Trying to find a way to talk about the musical connections that I was vibing with that had a connection to nature and ancient history and things like that. And then my various outings to places in nature that I felt a sense of peace and connection. Being indoors for the greater part of the past 2 years, I've been really longing to get out. I have gone camping a few times over the past year and some short hikes here and there. But yeah, there are times where I become overwhelmed with work and in the daily mundane city routine that, I just love getting out to nature. And I am fortunate enough that sometimes I can hop in my car, put on some music, and drive probably about 15 minutes and be up in some winding mountain hills, or a bit longer and make it all the way over to the beach. These are various ways that I can connect with a power greater than myself that is not of a religious context, no deity involved. Music and nature are how I really, really connect. I'm hoping that this short episode will provide a little bit of information for those that struggle with that concept. And that's about all I have for that section. Recently, most of the feedback that I've gotten via email at either jason@sexaddictsrecoverypod.com or at feedback@sexaddictsrecoverypod.com have been about connecting with past guests or asking other questions about the program. So I'm not going to read the context of those emails, but I was also just really grateful with the correspondence that I had with one of those emailers who invited me to hear his first step. And I was fortunate enough to be able to find the meeting and make it there, and got to hear a very, very powerful first step, and forever grateful for that. So thinking about things that I've found on YouTube besides the new Heilung song, there have been quite a few comments on the Bay Area SAA YouTube channel. And I wanted to read a little bit of that before closing out this episode. I've been trying to gather all of them. They're all on different episodes, so trying to figure out which ones I've talked about here on the podcast and which ones I haven't. They are all over the place. There were a few that fall under the generic term of, thanks for this, so grateful to have found this. But there are a few that I really wanted to highlight here that have come in over the past few weeks. And this was one on episode 59, which we just put out a few weeks ago. Please keep doing these. I listen to these every day. I think I've listened to everything twice over. There are people like me listening to this on Spotify, and it's helping more than you'll ever know. And yes, I do get messages like this and from people on the meetings that I go to. I'm just grateful for all the positive comments that have come in. And yes, I do know that this is touching people around the world, and forever humbled by that. Yep, here's another one from episode 52. Helping me with my demons. Keep it coming. Definitely want to keep moving forward with this. From episode 42, Don't Be Afraid of Change on the YouTube channel. I'm watching this rather than porn. I will write at least a 5-sentence journal entry based on the daily meditation and do my green book reading. I've not got a sponsor yet, but I will. Awesome. I'm so glad you're here listening. Yeah, keep reaching out to find a sponsor. I know it can be a difficult process, but please keep asking. And here's another one from episode 43, which was on meetings and fellowship. I've been going to SAA meetings for a couple of weeks now and finding myself really wishing there was a bulletin board type website for fellowship and such. This podcast seems to bridge the gap, as do fellowship calls. Thanks for doing this. And you are very welcome. One of the features that I'm hoping to include on the upcoming website, sexaddictsrecoverypod.com, would be kind of a blog bulletin board type of thing. I'm not sure how we will incorporate it. This past weekend, we just bought a new theme for the website, and so we are working hard on getting that moving forward. So hopefully we'll be able to include some sort of community building on the website. I know the ISO, that's the International Service Organization, has put together a new website. I think I've mentioned this in the previous episode, SAA Connect, and that's saa-connect.org. Currently, it has full audio from past convention speakers and workshops. It has tools of recovery, voices of recovery, and other features. Eventually, they are going to be opening it up to a personal blog type of thing. So there may be a bulletin board type system on that, but I know that is a future project for them. So I'm hoping that that will come to fruition. Yeah, in the meantime, we're working hard at the sexaddictsrecoverypod.com, and hopefully we can include a community building service. One of the other things I was going to mention is the noon meeting that I go to. At one time we had a Slack channel that we would check in with each other and be able to share things like that. And just recently we created a WhatsApp group. So there are things like that out there. And lastly, I wanted to read from episode 40, which was on thanks and gratitude. Great topic. Love it. I make gratitude lists daily and try to practice gratitude and thanks in everything I do. It brings me closer to my higher power too. I am so grateful for that. So yeah, with this episode, if you want to write anything in the comment section on the YouTube channel, or if you want to provide other feedback for us here at the podcast about other ways of finding a higher power that aren't involved in any religion, please, by all means, write something in the comment section on YouTube. Write an email to us at feedback@sexaddictsrecoverypod.com. And like I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions about past guests, or if you want to be a future guest on the podcast, you can email me at jason@sexaddictsrecoverypod.com. And that will do it for this week's episode. I'm grateful to finally be able to get my thoughts together and record this episode. Hopefully we'll be having some new guests coming up shortly. There is a possibility that one of my friends may be interviewing me here on the podcast soon, so that should be interesting as well. So anyway, thank you for tuning in, and as always, keep coming back. The views and opinions contained in the Sex Addicts Recovery Podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the Bay Area Intergroup or the ISO of SAA.